Hey guys, Baby Snake here. It's been about 4 months since my last video. I've been long overdue for a new video. So today is gonna be story time, and this one might get a little emotional because it's still raw, it's still kind of new, and I'm still trying to heal from it. So today's story is going to be about my ex-husband. Now, I was married for 2 years to a man who I thought was great. I thought he was kind, caring, generous, you know, the material that any good husband should have. But really had that completely destroyed our marriage and made everything crumble and fall was that he had controlling issues. I would say the beginning of relationship started like a typical relationship, getting to know one another, getting comfortable with each other, talking to each other. And at the time we were both in a vocational school, so we were able to see each other on a regular basis. And then when he graduated before I did, he would come back like every other weekend to hang out with me and take me over to his place for the weekend so I wouldn't have to stay, because the vocational school was one of those schools where you could live on the campus or you could go home for the weekend. So that's what I did, and over the course of a few months we got to know each other. I thought I knew him pretty well. Wasn't anything like too extreme, and it didn't give me any like red flags or warning signs that I noticed. But like, when you like meet someone and you have like that feeling in your gut like something's wrong or something's off, like that feeling that something's just not quite clicking. I had that feeling in my gut when I was around him, but I shrugged it off because I didn't want to believe that, I was falling for the wrong kind of guy. I thought I met the right guy. I thought I met Mr. Right. Previously went through a really rough relationship for 5 years, and I was ready to meet Mr. Right, to make me feel special. So I thought I found him. Problems in our relationship really didn't start showing itself until a few months into the relationship. It really didn't start showing itself until I gave him what he wanted, and that was sex. Sorry. Problems really didn't start showing themselves until I gave that to him. But then he changed. I should have left. I should have left, but I didn't, because I really didn't have anywhere else to go. I had my parents, but they were living in a one-bedroom apartment and didn't have any room for me. My friends were all living with their parents, so they didn't have anywhere for me to go. And school was only a temporary getaway. I was trying to get help through the school to find somewhere to go, so that if maybe they could find me get an apartment near the school or something, so I could transmute to my job. That wasn't working out. I had a job, but it only took the pain away temporarily. I thought I was happy with him. I thought I could make it work. I thought I was doing everything right. And I was wrong. So, yeah. It wasn't going well. But I had nowhere else to go. And I wanted to make it work. Because I thought he was Mr. Perfect. But with that control came mental abuse, manipulation, and lies. He convinced me that if I changed and became someone else, that he would love me more. That if I changed who I was, he would love me more. That if I became someone else, he would accept me. Mind you, I'm not a perfect person. Nobody is. Nobody's perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. Mind you, I was a little selfish during the relationship. I will admit that. I was a little selfish and greedy, but the greedy part came with trying to keep something that wasn't mine. In the wake of my pain and my sorrow, I picked up a bad habit, and that is wanting things that I didn't deserve. Money, nice things, toys, chocolate. That was my dirty pleasure, was chocolate. I thought that if I could keep him happy, I would make myself happy. And in turn, we could make our relationship last. But with buying more things, it just made me more miserable. Because with those items, those gifts, came to the realization that he pulled away from me. I made that horrible trek for 2 years. Think I could make it work? Change myself to please him. But he wouldn't do the same for me. Simple things I asked him and he would not do it for me. But I had to do it for him. If he wanted sex, I gave it to him. It was either that or deal with 2 weeks of belittling and a constant reminder that I wasn't up to the task. With that came depression and anxiety, because I always told myself that I wasn't worth it. I'm no good, useless, pathetic. I didn't deserve to be his wife. And it's true, I didn't. because I am a league in my own, above my own, and he had no right to treat me like that. For 2 years I dealt with this bullshit. Constant belittling, the constant reminders of my past mistakes, constant reminder that I'm not perfect. That no one will love you like I love you. 2 years I dealt with that. And it nearly drove me insane. Sure, I had friends to talk to, but I really couldn't go to see them. Because he wouldn't let me. He'd constantly make an excuse as to why I had to stay home. We're gonna go do something, or remember we need to do that thing, or I want your company, stay with me, don't go, don't leave. I mean, there was 1 or 2 instances where I was able to sneak out of the house every once in a while. Not for very long, but I was able to get out of the house. That helped a little bit. And having a job helped keep my mind off of it for, however long my shift was. And then the shift would end. I'd get to my car. And then I'd remember what I'd have to go home to. That man made me feel like shit. That was not the man I met. The man I met would never do that to me. He would have never done that to me. The man I met was kind and caring and generous. He cared. And it all changed once I lived with him. And then he showed me his demons, and I couldn't escape, because I had nowhere to go. So I left myself with 2 choices, to either stay with him or have somewhere else, a home, or leave him and have nowhere to go. My car. So I stayed. A horrible mistake, but I stayed. Because I thought I could change him. And then I thought, maybe a last-ditch effort. Move out of state. Go from where we were living to New Hampshire. Fresh surroundings. Something new. I thought I could bring that love that I found in him once. Bring it back out again. But it only made the reality worse. It just made him more bitter and angry. It only made us fight more. It didn't help. It made it worse. For a year we lived in New Hampshire. That whole time trying to convince myself that he was the right guy. That the image that I had in my head when we first met was the same guy. And that I could love him through all his flaws and his anger. I thought I could love him. For 2 years I lied to myself. 2 years I lied to my parents, telling them that he was the one, that he was perfect, and that I loved him, and that our marriage would work out. And then I finally gained the courage to leave. I finally left. I was so happy. My parents relocated and went down to Florida, and they have their own home. So when they found out, they were like, "Come home, baby. We missed you." I had somewhere to go. So I gained the courage. I bought my own vehicle. I took my belongings, my cats, and I drove 1,600 miles to get down here. I'm so happy. Best decision I've ever made. Since leaving him, I've never been happier. I finally gained the courage to divorce him in October of last year. After months of contemplating and going back and forth, and him trying to convince me to stay, I gained the courage, and I filed the paperwork. And I finally gained my freedom. I finally gained the freedom to leave. I took back what was mine. I claimed my own name, and I left. It's the best decision I've ever made. I'm so happy. I can finally be me again. It's been 4 months since I left. Since I left him. I've only been down here a month. Those last 4 months were the most painful. I lost everything. I had to convince him 3 times to stay longer, because he was willing to walk out that door and not give a shit. 3 times I had to convince him to stay, because he was the one paying the bill for the rent. My job couldn't handle it. In our divorce, that's when the real nasty side of him came out. The controlling, manipulative, angry. He was always angry. The last 4 months felt like I had to walk on pin cushions. Walking on crumbs, which each dainty little feet trying not to make it worse. He took everything from me. He took my car. Because he wouldn't let me have it. So I had to buy my own with whatever money I could manage to save up. I left my good job so I can get away from him. I have my 2 cats. And when I was finally able to get out, finally free, getting near my leaving date, my departure date from that hellish hellhole that I called marriage, the only thing, 2 things that he cared about was the car, which I had to switch over registration to him because he would not hear it otherwise. Months I took care of that car, paid for the maintenance myself, re-registered it in my name, babied that car, and he would not leave without it. So I gave it to him. I didn't get anything out of it. Not a cent. He would not hear of it. I was leaving him, so that was his way of getting back at me. He was taking away my transportation. So I said, fine. I'm taking the cats. It's the one thing I could get a hold of. Keep. That was mine. Since I was the one that rescued them as kittens. But it feels like, when I think about it, it feels more like the cats rescued me. Because they were my source of calm. When things got bad, my cats were my reassurance that everything was going to be okay. So I took them. That also can take my heart, my car, my stuff, my money. But it will not take my happiness. That's one thing that kept me going. And whatever money I managed to save up, I bought an old car, an old truck, so I can get myself down here to Florida. The week before I was supposed to leave, me and my ex had our last big argument. He thought that the last 2 years of his controlling ways that he could finally get one last piece of me. He somehow convinced himself that after our divorce we could get back together and start again. When I told him no, and I was moving on, he didn't like that. He lunged out, called me all nasty, horrible names, then took his shit, packed my car, his little car that he took from me, and left. The only thing I ever heard from him last was, "How's my cats doing?" Nice, huh? All that bullshit, and that's all he cared about. Not my safety, or how I'm doing, or making sure that my vehicle didn't break down. No. The only thing he cared about was his cats. Otherwise, I was on my own. After he left, his nice parting gift was leaving all of his furniture that he had in his room to me to clean it out and to put in the trash. He took all the pots and pans, all the silverware, most of the food, whatever he could fit, and left. That was his parting gift. So, word of advice. When you decide to date someone, make sure you listen to your gut. Your gut is usually 99% right. Do not ignore it. Listen to it. It could save you from heartbreak. And you can avoid my life choices. If you do decide to date someone and your gut is going along with it, date them for at least 2 years so that you can find out if they're really the one. I didn't learn that. I jumped into it. I knew him for a year and I married him because I didn't want to listen to myself. And I learned the hard way. Please, please, don't learn from my mistake. I'm only 24 years old, and I'm already divorced. Don't repeat in me. Wait until you're a little older and you fully understand the situation that you've gotten yourself into. Because marriage is a serious, should be serious relationship. It's not something to be taken lightly. I thought I could handle it. I thought marrying him would make it better. And it shows it only made it worse. So please consider your choices before you jump into something you'll later regret. I could share my story. This is Beta Snake, signing out.